Hello friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Generally I teach new techniques and songs on here, but today I want to come back to just some of the basic foundations of playing the ukulele and show you a little bit of my warm-up routine before I practice. A lot of us get in the habit of just jumping in and working on new material right away without giving our body or our mind truly space to wake up and be ready to deal with these new ideas. In addition to this, we want to think about just moving our body in the right way. When we're thinking about learning new songs and new chords, we are not necessarily thinking about the basic techniques, how we strum the instrument, how we hold the instrument, how our left hand is moving around the instrument. So I find it very important in the beginning of my practice session to warm up with some things that just seem simple, so that I have the space to think about all of these little bits of technique while I'm not working on anything else. So the first thing that I do when I pick up my uke in the morning is I put down a C major chord. I hold my uke and I take about 30 seconds just to relax my body. A lot of us have a tendency to carry a lot of tension in our shoulders while we're playing, especially if we hand hold the uke. We want to just take a moment and make sure that our body is actually just in alignment and relaxed, and that we're not causing undue stress, because any stress that we're placing on our body is just going to get even worse as we start playing and stop worrying about what our body is actually doing. So we just want to take a second to think about, am I relaxed? Shake out your hands a little bit so we recall what our hands actually feel like relaxed, as opposed to when they're engaged in an activity. Because in the end, we want our body to be relaxed while we play, and this is going to help our playing and our musicality. So the first thing I do is just make sure that I'm relaxed. And then I turn on my metronome on 60 beats per minute, something nice and slow, and do down strums for about a minute. So let's put down a C major chord, and let's do this together. And what we're thinking about here is the way that we're moving our hands, the sound coming out of our uke, and that we're just moving in a nice, efficient manner, like this. The strums coming from the wrist, not big movements from the elbow, that we're attacking the string fast enough so it sounds like a chord, and that we're pulling a pleasing sound out of the instrument. Let's do this together. And think about that relaxation in the hand while you're doing this. Good. And our goal here is for this to become automatic, for us to stop thinking about all these little bits and focus on the sound. We want that sound to be nice and consistent as we play. There's really nothing special about the way it sounds, just a basic C major chord. And we're also just locking in with the metronome, trying to get the metronome to disappear. Oh, and remember to breathe. It's important. After I do this for a minute or two, I start subdividing the beat. So just add in an up strum for eighth notes. Focus on just keeping the wrist motion consistent, smooth, relaxed, and still breathing. Letting that up strum just be a little bit lighter than the down strums. It's our offbeat. It's not generally accented. Go back to quarters. Just down strums. If you have someone at your house to talk to while you're doing this, or even an animal, I talk to my cats sometimes, because we want to get out of being actively involved in thinking about all of this and let this be natural. And if you can carry a conversation while you're doing this exercise, You're not going to have to think too much about strumming while you're worried about chord changes. It's already going to be there for you. Back to our eighth notes. We're just hanging out on this. Being honest with our time and following the metronome. Back to the quarters. We'll stop there. Very good. Now I'll usually continue this and I'll further subdivide the beat into eighth note triplets and then 16th notes. But to start out, for most of our purposes, practice quarter notes, down strums, and eighth notes, down and up strums, until these are automatic and easy for you and we're not thinking about it. But if you spend a little bit of time every day, and I'm talking 2 to 3 minutes, just doing this exercise that seems probably way too easy for you, it's going to improve your playing so much because you're worrying about the mechanics that we can't worry about while we're thinking about music. Now let's look at some individual note warm-ups. Now, many of us play predominantly individual strings or fingerstyle playing and not strumming, and we need warm-ups for this style of playing as well. I do a bunch of this myself. I use almost entirely thumbs or thumb and index finger. I don't do traditional fingerstyle. So I'm going to show you the warm-ups that I use for the thumb, but you can adapt these to your traditional fingerstyle position. Again, much like with the strumming, what we're worried about here are just the basic mechanics, the things that we don't have time to think about while we're playing other exercises. So I start out with open strings. If we can get an open string to sound good, then we're doing something right. So I'll do 4 nice slow attacks on each string, like this. And up to the C. What I'm doing is minimizing the space between the notes here, letting it ring out for as long as possible, not returning the finger until I'm ready to re-attack the string. And then we go back down. Again, focusing on tone and sound coming out of the instrument and making it automatic. Being able to do other things while we're playing this exercise. And I'll usually go up and down this a few times, just focusing on minimizing that space between the notes. And then I add in a C major scale with a very specific fingering. And this allows me to work on left hand legato techniques, or keeping the notes long and connected in the left hand, now that I've already worked on the right hand a little bit, going through this basic open string exercise. So the way that I finger the C major scale is like this: open C, second finger on the second fret for D, open E, F with the first finger on the first fret, open G. If you're on high G, you can also use the third fret with your ring finger. That works just as well. But note that when I get to here, my middle finger and my first finger have not moved because I don't need them for anything else. We're creating unnecessary motion by lifting them up prematurely. So open G, open A, and then the ring finger comes down on the second fret, creating a G7th chord, and back up to the C on the third fret with our pinky. So you actually end in a G7 sus4. When I play the exercise, it looks like this. What we're focusing on here again is efficiency of motion, not moving those fingers unless we absolutely need to. And the more that you practice this, the more that it's going to become commonplace in your playing without even thinking about it. The key here is to put these basic warm-ups in of any technique that you're using a whole lot and focus on the beginner aspects of them, and making sure that you have a firm foundation so that when you go into your practice routine and you're practicing harder repertoire, you're not worried about these little bits and you've already taken care of them. I'll see y'all next week.